Steve Webster, then the current world champion, leads them down onto the grid. Of course, he is first in the qualifying position. He's on pole. His passenger, Paul Woodhead, there. It's a hot day here in Hungary at the Hungaroring. Third on the grid is the German, Jörg Steinhausen. His passenger there, the Brit, Trevor Hopkinson. Tim and Tristan Reeves, second on the grid. They'll be hoping to get a good start here. Well, Ian's down on the grid talking to Aldolf Hanny.
Dolph, very hot day today.
Yes, very hot for old man.
New father also.
Yeah.
Do you wish you were at home with your baby now instead of on the grid in this heat?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Thank you.
Serious, fourth position was very good for qualifying, but how do you think for the race?
Yeah, I think the same position, then I lucky. The training is perfect and maybe the race. Hope so.
Okay, good luck, Dolph.
Thank you very much.
Well, congratulations to the new father. Well, father and son pairing there, Martin and Tony Van Gils, the Dutchman, and called a quick word with them.
Martin, very bad conditions in the heat here today. Do you think your motocross experience will help you?
I think so. Yeah, our condition is okay, and yeah, if I think back in the motocross, we have never problem with the temperature. So I think maybe we are very lucky.
So you think it's possible to get on the podium today?
I hope so. Yeah.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not so sure how much his motocross experience will help him here today, but there's Steve Webster. What did he think about the outcome of the race, and was the heat going to affect him?
I think really, yeah, there's no way you could lap 19 laps at a race pace. So even the rest of the guys, they can't do it. And so what we'll try to do is just try to make it so that we can slowly start to build up and hopefully get enough, enough of a lead or whatever to do it. But let's wait and see.
All right, good luck, Steve.
Thank you.
Well, in fact, it is very, very hot here today, and the temperature, well, as you can see, 33 degrees centigrade. Track temperature must be over 50 degrees. Ian's joined me back in the commentary box. Well, Ian, it is a hot day.
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult for this 19 laps around the Hungaroring. As you say, track temperature 50 degrees, all the heat coming off of the engines, and they're underway.
Who do you think will suffer most of the heat, the driver or the passenger?
Well, I think the passenger's going to suffer more. As I said earlier on, the radiator's directly in front of them, pushing all that hot air, and as they come into turn one, it's Tim and Tristan Reeves that have got the whole shot. And it looked like Jörg Steinhausen trying to get up the inside of Steve Webster into that first turn. I don't think he made it.
Series leaders after round one at Brands Hatch, where Steve Webster pulled out with a mechanical failure. I think it was an electrical problem. Bit of buffing and banging going on there at the back, but they're all safely through. But it's all, we've seen this before. It's the Reeves and Webster show once again. It's the question now, I think, Ian, who's going to survive the 19 laps?
Yeah, I think so. There's Jörg Steinhausen in third place. Mike Roscher, Adolf Harney got a reasonable start. They're in fifth at the moment, but as you say, Reeves and Webster, really the class of this field at the moment. They just seem to be able to turn it up a little bit more than the rest, and wouldn't surprise me to see them pull away on this opening lap. We're on board with Brian Pedder and Rod Stedman, and we remember seeing Brian and Rod upside down at Brands Hatch and coming back to finish fourth. Martin Van Gils on that yellow machine. Bit of a wide line through that left-hander, but not enough room for Mike Roscher to try and get past there. Very bumpy around this Hungaroring circuit. Formula One cars here really sort of ripple this track up. It's a bit like a washboard effect. The power of the Formula One cars and these hot conditions just make the tarmac slightly ripple, and people have been complaining about suspension, trying all different things. Roscher there getting a bit sideways through that right-hander, and so Pedder and Stedman in about sixth position at the moment. That's a good start from them.
Yeah, as you say, it's nice to see him out on the track after that upside-down incident at Brands Hatch at round one with the newly painted fairing on. But it is their teammates, Tim and Tristan Reeves, that lead them through. Then it's Steve Webster, the current world champion, in second place. A great scrap on there between Pedder, and I think that was Morrissey alongside him.
Yeah, Dan Morrissey and Rob Biggs trying to get down the inside going into turn one, and Martin Van Gils up the inside of Jörg Steinhausen. Looks like Dan Morrissey made it there, but he just got it slightly wrong, went in a little bit hot there, just got it sideways. Lucky not to spin that outfit round, but that will cost him a lot of time. Well, that scrap between Van Gils and Steinhausen still going on.
Well, Van Gils there had it all locked up going into that left hand. Let's have a look off the start again.
Yeah, it's a real fine line between getting these machines cleanly off the line and getting a bad start. Pedder and Stedman seem to get a fairly good start there. They're chasing down Martin and Tony Van Gils into that first turn. Well, no way through there at the moment, and we've got somebody around the outside of us as well. Can't quite see who that is. But, well, Pedder and Stedman in 5th position round that turn 1, going into turn 2. This tight left-hander, very difficult on the brakes. Oh, and that's Mike Rosher and Adolf Harney just slipping up the inside of Brian Pedder there. So they made that passing manoeuvre stick, dropping Pedder down to 6th position. But, well, great onboard shot from the start there.
I'm sure Brian Pedder will make his way back up the field just as soon as he can get to grips with the circuit. But here they come. We're back with the live action. It is Tim and Tristan, the two brothers. Reeves out front, Steve Webster in second, but the scraps are on right down through the field. Number 5 there, Pekka Pavarinta, the Finn, with Peter Wall, the Swiss passenger on the Pavarinta sidecar racing outfit. They're having their own little war there, but it's cut and thrust here, Ian.
Yeah, number 84 there, Andy Laidlaw and Patrick Farrance. We spoke to them earlier. They came away from Brands Hatch line 4th in the championship. But first time here at Hungaroring, and they've got a lot of places to make up. Billy Gowross and Johnny Briggs in front of them, just behind Brian Pedder and Rod Stedman. So that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th battle really raging at the moment.
There was a lot of concern in the garages earlier about the 19 laps and whether they would be able to carry enough fuel to get them through the 19 laps. Do you think that's going to be a big issue?
No, I don't think so. The fuel tank should be big enough to carry the fuel for this race. There was a move over the last couple of years to make the fuel tank smaller when the switch to 4-stroke power came out, and this is one of the longest races that the machines have had. Laidlaw just trying up the inside into that chicane, not quite doing it. Really difficult to pass around here. Talking to Steve Webster, he said it's really a one-line racetrack, and you know, the passing opportunities aren't that many. If you get offline, you get onto the dusty part of the circuit, you run the risk of locking the wheels up and just sliding into the guy that you're trying to pass. So very difficult to get past people here.
On board again with Brian Pedder, and he's been dropped off by the 3 in front, so things not going quite so well for him after that 4th place at Brands Hatch, which was quite remarkable. He'd been upside down and been quite knocked about, the pair of them had, and almost written the outfit off.
Yeah, tough pairing, Pedder and Stedman. Rod Stedman really only in his 2nd season of passengering, and I must say he's just come into it as a real natural. Webster trying to have a look up the inside of Reeves into that turn 1. Well, Tristan there just looked like just taking a bit of the grip tape off the back of the fairing there, so that's a bit of a cool move.
I noticed that Webster's outfit appears to be puffing smoke every time he gears down into the corners. Yeah. Any reason for that?
Yeah, it's been doing that all through the qualifying sessions as well, and I think it's just something they've tried in this engine. This is a development engine that Webbo's using for the race. Had problems in the first practice with his number 1 bike, and it's just something they've tried that seems to be burning a little bit more oil than you would normally see, and probably a bit of unburnt fuel coming out there. So that's not going to be very comfortable for both Webster and Woodhead. Around 19 laps of sort of breathing in that carbon dioxide, I'm sure that's going to have an effect as well.
Especially at 33 degrees centigrade. I hate to think what the temperatures currently are on the outfits on the track there. It would have been interesting to have put a thermometer on one of those bikes just to get some idea what they were running at. But
yeah, back on board with Brian Pedder and Rod Stedman. You're right, I mean the exhaust system runs underneath the driver in these machines, and there's an under tray to help the airflow under the machine, so traps a lot of heat in that bodywork. You've got to be talking 110, 120 degrees heat underneath the driver there.
The other issue here is that because it's a Formula 1 circuit, there's a lot of very large rumble strips around the outside, and when they hit those rumble strips, it bounces the outfits around all over the place, so that's not going to give the passenger an easy ride. 55, Mike Rosher there, lifts the sidecar just a little bit. As Adolf Hanny changes side, here we go. It's still Tim and Tristan Reeves looking over their shoulder.
Number 22, Jörg Steinhausen, the son of former world champion Rolf Steinhausen, in 3rd position, but just dropping away from these leading 2. We're on lap 5, so a quarter of the way through this race at the moment. Adolf Hanny, the genial Swiss passenger, been around for a long time, passenger for so many great riders. passengered for Webster in the early 90s. He's passengered for Klaus Klaffenbach, winner of 8 World Championship races in his time as passenger, but still to win a race with Mike Roscher.
I've noticed again there, Ian, that Webster's outfit's still puffing out smoke, whereas Steinhausen's puffing out flames. It's quite a contrast. Bit of firework display out there at the moment.
Yeah, it's certainly exciting when they burn that unburnt fuel out of the exhaust pipes on these machines. It does look quite dramatic, especially for the photographers. But Mike Roscher, Adolf Harney, they're still in that 5th position. And at this stage of the race, I think everybody's just kind of settled down a little bit, just pacing themselves in the early stages. Don't want to expend too much energy. Still a lot of laps left to go. Back on board with Brian Pedder, and he's dropped back in that 6th position. Still holding 6, but not able to stay with the Van Gils and Roscher pair in front of him. But I think behind he's got a big freight train of outfits eager to try and get past. But fantastic shots from this onboard, coming down into the final complex of corners, hard on the brakes into this right-hander, and then you've got to feed the power in.
That to me looks like the battle for 3rd place at the moment, between Steinhausen and, is it Van Gils? It's there in 4th. Number 2, yes it is, Martin Van Gils with his son Tony in the chair. So that's the 2 at the front.
Yeah, Webster just dropping back a little bit from Tim and Tristan Reeves there. I don't think that's too much of a worry, but it doesn't normally give Tim that much of a gap in the early stages of the race. But yeah, Steinhausen, I think, is going to come under a bit of pressure from Van Gils and Roscher at any time soon, because certainly Martin Van Gils is closing that gap to the German from Nürburgring, just outside Bonn in Germany. And of course the next round we go to is the Nürburgring, so that's the home circuit for Jörg Steinhausen. He'll want to go there with a good result under his belt from Hungary. But Martin and Tony Van Gils on that Matum Racing E-Tech machine. They picked up the E-Tech sponsorship on the back of their 2nd position in the series last year, and well, they need to get on the rostrum. Didn't have such a good Brands Hatch. I don't think they liked the Indy circuit at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, as you say, and Brands Hatch circuit very much smaller than the circuit here at the Hungaroring. This is a very, very big circuit. 19 laps around here. It's going to be tough for all these guys. But the battles are still on, especially that tussle for 3rd. That's the tussle for the lead. Has Webster at last made his move? No.
Not quite.
No, Tim just, I think Steve's playing a bit of a waiting game here. He realises the conditions are hot. There's the current positions coming up. Of course, it is Tim and Tristan Reeves out there in front on the Roberts outfit, with Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead in 2nd on the Castrol outfit. And
this is our 6th position still, number 75, Brian Pedder, Rod Stedman, Billy Galros, number 3, just getting a bit wrong going into that left-hander, probably got out a bit wide onto the slippery stuff, and luckily didn't lose any positions, but that would have been a heart-in-mouth job.
Had it locked up nicely going into the corner, but we're back at the front once again. And Steve Webster is definitely playing a waiting game here. I think he's going to let Tim and Tristan wear themselves out in this heat and then just take an easy win. Back on board once again with the outfit of Pedder and Stedman. And as Ian has said earlier, you can see how bumpy it is. These onboard cameras are locked securely on the outfits, and it's the outfit itself that's bumping around, not the camera. So it's a bumpy old ride out there for these boys.
Yeah, for sure, and this is the real technical part of the circuit, especially for the passenger. Lots of left and right-handed corners. They've got to be moving really quick from one side of the machine to the other, and of course you've always got that heat coming off the radiator, buffeting them in the face.
Back at the front, Webster's queuing up the pass, I feel, Ian. He's just waiting for the right moment, and he's going to put that one through.
Yeah, and this 3rd and 4th, 5th place battle. Martin Van Gils, big slide coming out of that left-hander, but yeah, Steve Webster, well, just quite happy to sit there. Still smoke coming out of that exhaust, and look at that going straight into the face of Paul Woodhead as he's changing down through the gearbox into turn 1. and I certainly wouldn't like to be on that machine. Martin Van Gils once again getting a bit squirrely there. Now this may be tyres starting to go off a little bit, and they have got brake bias adjusters on these. You can adjust the amount of force between the front and rear brakes, and when the tyres start going off a bit, then you need to start playing around with that within the cockpit. So maybe Martin just needs to fiddle around and get that brake bias sorted out.
Dan Morrissey there on that 99 outfit with Rob Biggs, his passenger, Team Advanced Excalibur. It's a Suzuki powered outfit. We're back on board once again with the 75 outfit of Brian Pedder and Rob Steadman, the Team Roberts Racing outfit.
Yeah, and they've got number 84 Andy Laidlaw and Patrick Farrance pressing them hard now for that 6th position. Laidlaw and Farrance has said debut year in the World Championship, real revelation at Brands Hatch, and starting to get to grips with this Hungaroring circuit now.
We talk about debut years for some people. Of course, we are missing one regular outfit here this year, and that's the Brummie Tom Hanks. And unfortunately, we thought Tom might be making a bit of a comeback here at the Hungaroring, but apparently it's not to be. Is there any news on that one?
No, Tom's still trying to sort out some deals with potential sponsors and potential teams. Hopefully we will see him back in the series later on in the year, but now Webster coming down the straight. Is he lining up that pass again? No, just too far back. Doesn't look worried at the moment. Can drop back and still close that gap back to Tim quite easily. And perhaps sitting in the slipstream's not so good for him. Well, look, Martin Van Gils up the inside of Jörg Steinhausen and Trevor Hopkinson now. And he's held that, didn't go in too deep. He's held on to that 3rd position now. So Steinhausen under a lot of pressure, and again from Mike Roscher and Adolf Harney. So in 2 corners, Steinhausen has dropped from 3rd to 5th position, and he's definitely not going to like that.
No, you can see he already tried to come back. We're back on board once again with Brian Pedder, and he's lost a position. That's 84 Andy Laidlaw that's just gone through, and I think he's run wide, and Brian Pedder's got that position back again, but Andy Laidlaw there is definitely in a determined mood.
Yeah, for sure. Andy's, sold his house this year to fund a full season of racing in the World Championship level. He's got his wife and young son with him as well, and they're travelling around Europe with Patrick Farrance and, just having a great time racing in all these different countries.
That's what I call a bit of an unusual holiday, that is, but...
Yeah, for sure, Kirsty, Andy's wife, fully supportive of his efforts and goes with him everywhere. And Andy doing a great job so far this year, but so of course is Brian Pedder and Rod Steadman.
Back out front once again, it's still Tim and Tristan Reeves on that 77 outfit, the Team Roberts outfit, one of 2, and the world champion Steve Webster still there behind. That's the battle, I think, now for 3rd place. Number 2 Martin Van Gils has that position at the moment. I'm surprised that Steinhausen hasn't responded sooner to this.
Yeah, and now Webster's alongside Tim Reeves going into that 170 mile an hour approach to turn 1. Just leaves the braking a little bit late. Tim did try and cut him off in there, but it was too late. So now the master Steve Webster and passenger Paul Woodhead have hit the front, and are we going to see them streak away?
Oh, Woody looking back there at the counterparts behind them, as if to say, well, there you go, guys, that's the last you've seen of us, we're off, goodbye. Here's that tussle now for 3rd place. It's still the 2 outfit of Martin Van Gils, and I am really surprised that that man hasn't closed that gap.
Yeah, I'm thinking Jörg Steinhausen's probably got some kind of problem, because he's not a guy that gives up easily. Pekka Piver into just getting it wrong into that left-hand hairpin. That's allowed his fellow countryman Tero Manninen to take that, 7th position, I think.
Well, that corner has caught out a few people so far under braking. That's a pretty tricky corner.
Yeah, it's a downhill approach, very fast downhill approach into an off-camber left-hander. So if you're going to get caught out anyway, that's probably the one that's going to do it. And we've seen that a couple of times already. Brian Pedder still holding that 6th position at the moment. Well, typical commentator's curse. Andy Laidlaw and Patrick Farrance through cleanly this time, didn't run wide. So Laidlaw and Farrance now up to 6th position, but quite a way behind. Got smoke pouring off. Well, that to me looks like the sidecar wheel arch rubbing on that sidecar tyre. That was definitely tyre smoke, but not from spinning.
Well, it hasn't done it again on that corner. That's surprising.
Well, it depends where the passenger puts their foot when they get the weight over the back wheel for the corners. There's a a post just by that sidecar wheel that they can press on, but sometimes if they use the actual bodywork, it can just push it into the edge of the tyre. Oh, and Petter's off! Petter's off. He's just misjudged that corner completely.
Kept it going.
Well, he hasn't lost too much time, but
he's
well,
lost a few
about
places,
3 or 4
yeah.
places there, so he won't be happy about that.
Well, that's a mistake that he didn't need to make. There is Dan Morrissey on the 99 outfit.
Yeah, and they're now up to 9th position with that mistake. This is our 6th position pairing. Laidlow 7th, Billy Galros. Pekka Pivarinta's back in front of Tero Manninen, so that's 8th and 9th. Well, Morrissey and Biggs 10th position then, so that means Brian Petter and Rod Stedman dropped all the way back down to 11th place, and they've got some work to do.
Why do you think they made that mistake? Just outbrake themselves?
Well, we're getting through beyond halfway stage in this race now, so I would imagine fatigue's coming in. Well, look at that. Fastest lap to Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead, 1:54.137. That's a new lap record around this 2.72 mile circuit. Average speed of about 87 miles an hour. And that's incredible in this heat at this stage of the race.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they've not gone too soon. It might have an effect on them in the later stages. So there they are out front, and Tim Reeves hanging on to the shirt tails of the current world champion. He's refusing to let him get away, hoping that he may make a mistake. You remember at Brands Hatch, Webster suffered a mechanical failure, and that gave Reeves his first ever World Championship win.
Yeah, I was just looking at Webster. It looked like he had his visor open coming around that final turn, so just trying to get a bit of fresh air into his face, and that's something you can do on these sidecars when you get a bit of a chance on a straight. Just flip the visor open, get a bit of fresh air in there before it's 170 miles an hour, and you've got to put it back down again.
Well, Tim, a watching brief at the moment from Reeves, and that is that battle for 3rd place. It's still on, and it's still very, very hot, not just out there, but also in the race.
Yeah, Martin Van Gils, he just looks a bit wild at times, doesn't he? And
I'm not going to put money on that, where those two end up, that's for sure.
No, Mike Roscher, Adolf Harney just looking up the inside.
Yeah.
Van Gils a little bit wide on the entry there, but it's a corner with a couple of lines into it, I think. Now Tim Reeves still chasing down Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead on that Castrol Suzuki. Impressed that they're holding Webster in sight. I think Webster maybe tried a bit of a breakaway, saw he couldn't get too clear of Tim, and has just settled back down again.
Back on board with Brian Petter once again. He's on the track, thankfully, and not in the kitty litter. And here he is around that long left-hand corner as he winds up the outfit once again, heads for the right-hander.
That's a very fast, flat-out right-hander through there, back up the hill towards turn 4 now, and again this is about 150 miles an hour into this blind left-hander at the top of the hill. And it's frustrating, he can just see the guys in front of him, but they're just a little too far away to catch the toe.
Steve Webster still out front, Paul Woodhead there working hard. I think, as you say, Steve is just been early. He's looking back, Steve is looking way back to see where Tim is. There's that battle on. We've got a change for 3rd place.
Yeah, Mike Roscher and Adolf Harney moved ahead of Martin and Tony Van Gils out of our sight there, and well, I said Roscher was looking the smoother of the pair, but Webster, well, these guys really sort of in a class of their own, but they don't look to be flat out, do they? Although
No.
Webster now beginning to stretch that advantage. Maybe Tim Reeves has backed off a little bit because they're not on the lap record pace. Well, Reeves just sliding the back end of that through the left-hand hairpin.
Oh, this is a good scrap for 3rd now. Martin Van Gils wants that position back. He would like to get on the podium, and so of course would Mike Roscher. Here they come down into that very tricky left-hander where we've seen so many of them make mistakes there under braking, but they're all safely through.
Yeah, and we're now seeing the back end of these machines sliding around a bit more. There's number 84 in 6th position. Dan Morrissey and Rob Biggs still doing a good job there, but not really able to close that gap to Tero Manninen in front of them. And Van Gils starting to look a little bit ragged now, and that's allowing Mike Roscher and Adolf Harney just to pull away slightly. Missed the apex of that right-hander by a mile.
I think they explained that as chucking it into the corner. He did indeed chuck it in.
Yeah, I think as an ex-motocrosser, he was looking for the berm there.
He probably was, yeah, and he wasn't going to find one. Webster Woodhead still lead this. It's still the two Reeves brothers in second place, and there's definitely a problem there for Webster, and well, Woody seems to be in trouble. Woody, and look at, well, Reeves has gone straight past him. That's a problem for Webster.
Yeah,
Now,
that was Webster waving his hand at Paul Woodhead there. That looks like their race is done.
Is that a problem for the machine, or is that a problem for the passenger? Look, Reeves is looking back as well. They're both looking back. They're not sure what's going on. Well, I'm not sure indeed what is going on there.
Well, a bit of a quick conversation there. Reeves obviously saw Webster was about to stop, perhaps just checking what the condition of Tristan is. It's incredibly hot conditions here. Fatigue has to be coming into it. And, well, Webster, it's not a machine problem because he's still going slowly round the track.
It looks like he's actually holding on to Paul Woodhead. Well, Paul Woodhead has put his hand up, so they're pulling off. Is this an exhaustion problem?
Well, I don't know. They both look okay at the moment, don't they? So that leaves Tim and Tristan Reeves way out in front now. They've got about a 25-second gap now over Mike Rosser and Adolf Harney in second position. Tim Reeves looking back again, just making sure that nobody's still there. Well, that man looks completely knackered, doesn't he?
Exhaustion. The heat has taken its toll, I wonder. Well, there is Paul Woodhead, and he's in trouble, I think. Yeah, he is. Steve Webster jumps up quickly. I think Paul Woodhead's just passed out from the heat. Yes, indeed he is. Steve's going to probably ask for some water or something now, yeah.
Well, drama here at the Hungaroring, and the heat beginning to take its toll.
Well, drama here at the Hungaroring round 2 of this FIM World Sidecar Championship, with Tim and Tristan Reeves now leading the current world champion Steve Webster and his passenger pulling out of the race, with Webster looking okay. Steve is, but Paul Woodhead, I'm fairly sure, was suffering with heat exhaustion.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke earlier about that exhaust fumes coming out, the smoke coming off of that Castrol Suzuki, and I wonder if that's had an effect on it as well. With this great scrap going on for sixth position there. And that is now Pekka Piver into that sixth position. Andy Laidlaw and Patrick Farrance look to be slowing down as well. They've dropped right back into the clutches of that group. Tero Manninen and Pekka Koismanen, number 88, just about to go past them as well by the looks of things. Well, Tim and Tristan, Tim just taking a sit up out of the machine there. And that's normally if you start getting a bit of cramp in your legs. And well, luckily he's got such a lead that he can afford to knock it off and just start to move around a little bit. And back with Pekka Piver into the two Finns, Manninen behind him, Dan Morrissey and Rob Biggs have gone past Andy Laidlaw and Patrick Farrance as well. So they too are in trouble after being up in sixth position at one stage. They've dropped right back. Back on with Brian Pedder and Rod Stedman, still trying to make up ground after their little excursion into the kitty litter earlier on.
Well, it's a big empty track in front of them, so I really don't think they're going to manage that before the end of this race.
No,
unless,
sure,
of course, someone makes a big mistake up front. One of these guys makes a big mistake, but you just say they are beginning to slow up, aren't they?
We've got the battling Finns there. They're really, although they're friends off the track, they give no quarter to each other on the track, and we do see them in close company quite often, very evenly matched. And here we are back with Brian Pedder, and that looks like Andy Laidlaw and Patrick Farrance in front of us. So they've really slowed right down. I think they're about to stop. Well, Pedder nearly ramming Laidlaw up the rear going into that right hand. I didn't expect them to be that slow, I don't think.
We're on the final lap then. There they are, Tim and Tristan Reeves on that 77 outfit, the Team Roberts outfit, on course to take their second World Championship win of this 2005 season. And that is going to place them very squarely in front of the championship standards going to round 3 at the Nürburgring. Well, what can you say about these two young lads? They want to win a World Championship. They're up for it now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what Steve Webster didn't need at this race was another DNF, and unfortunately it's happened. And the brothers, Tim and Tristan Reeves, have just taken full advantage of the fact that he's no longer in the race. I mean, really cruising around this last lap now. Normally about a 1:55, 1:56 second lap. I mean, this last lap's probably going to be about 3 minutes, the rate they're going at the moment.
So we can only assume then, they're still at it, this lot, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's Dan Morrissey's got ahead of Tero Manninen, so that's a good move from Dan Morrissey and Rob Biggs. They'll be pleased with their fitness. Well, look at this. Mike Roscher, Adolf Harney, second position at the moment. Hanny, what can you say? 2 days after Brands Hatch, he became a father to little Julia, and he's got a birthday coming up a couple of days after this race. So if he gets on the rostrum here, what a fantastic couple of weeks he's had.
Yeah, Martin Van Gils and Tony the son there still in third, so we're going to see two on the podium that we don't normally see up there, I have to say. Although they did finish second and third in the two-race World Championship at Slights last year. There's the guys that finished second in the European Series behind Steve Webster. Tim and Tristan Reeves, they're on course to pick up another set of maximum points here at the Hungaroring and put themselves, 40 points, I think, in the lead.
Well, Tim just smoking that rear wheel out of the final corner there, and a convincing win. It's a shame Steve Webster and Paul Woodhead had to drop out. It would have been interesting to see how that panned out to the end, but not to be. Tim and Tristan take their second World Championship win, and there's Roscher and Hanny coming over for a fine second position. And where is Martin and Tony Van Gils? There they are, third position. Well, the results confirm Tim and Tristan Reeves take another 25 points ahead of Roscher and Hanny. Martin and Tony Van Gils in third position. Jörg Steinhausen held on for fourth. Billy Galros in fifth.
Well, there is Steve Webster along with Paul Woodhead's girlfriend. Where is Paul Woodhead? That's the question now. Obviously that heat exhaustion took its toll as everybody there prepares to wait for our presentation of the top three. And in third position, there they are, Tony and Martin Van Gils. Well-deserved third position as well, I think, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, Martin, obviously that motocross experience, as you said at the beginning, did help him in that race, but just lost out in the end to the runners-up, Mike Roscher there, and, well, little Adolf Harney. What can you say about this guy? Fantastic moustache. And they'll be well pleased with that one.
Thank you.
But it's the winners. Here they are. Tim Reeves, Tristan, his brother, behind him, the passenger. They now lead the World Championship convincingly. If they can just keep it going for the remaining rounds, I think we're looking at the World Champions. Oh, yeah, he says.
Yeah, isn't it great to see people enjoying the podium celebrations?
Yeah.